firstly, how was Rock and Blues?
Yeah, it was great. It was really good. First gig back in 18 months for us, so that was a big event in itself, just getting
Mm,
back at it. And then obviously, anytime you do a festival, it's a pretty cool experience just to be surrounded by people that are, up for seeing live music,
yeah,
and
definitely.
particularly that crowd. They were very much into the sort of music that we do, so went
Mm,
down really well. The weather was absolutely terrible, so that was
as always.
the only downside. But then it wouldn't be a British festival if it wasn't raining, would it? So
Yeah, exactly.
no, it was good. It was a great experience. Really good people. Saw some other good bands. Had a good time. Just pleased to be back at it. Really doing gigs again more than anything.
Yeah, definitely. I imagine the crowd were pretty high energy as well, with it being, most people's first gig back, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody seemed really up for it. It was a bit surreal being in like a crowded place with loads of other people after all this time. But
Yeah.
you had to provide all your COVID information and everything when you got there.
Oh,
So
okay.
they'd done all the right things. So everybody was as safe as they could be, I suppose, in that respect. But yeah, it was great, and everybody got some really good feedback. Really good feedback on the day, and a lot of good messages and stuff since the gig as well. So
No,
it's good.
awesome.
Those sorts of opportunities are really good, just for like getting yourself, in front of the right audience and on a
Yes, definitely.
good
Yeah.
platform. Yeah, we enjoyed it. It was good. Just giving us the taste of getting back to gigging now. So we want to just get a few more in the diary and get
Mm,
back at
yeah.
it. Really.
Well, I was going to ask, kind of, do you have a plan from here? Do you have a goal in mind, or for the next
I mean, just getting
12
back up
months?
to speed, really. I mean, we know if we're based in Manchester, we've got a few local promoters that we tend to work with quite regularly. So just
Mm,
starting to put some more dates in the diary over the next few months and things. But really, I mean, generally, as a general trajectory, we want to try and get more of those sorts of opportunities that we were just talking about. So making sure that we're in front of the right sort of crowd and in
mm,
front of people that are really receptive to what we do. Often people like promoters can struggle to place us on the right bills with like-minded bands and things. They sometimes put us
yes.
on with more
Yeah.
indie crowds, and sometimes they put us on with more kind of really heavy rock bands and stuff like that. We're probably somewhere in between. So yeah, just trying to work hard to get more of the right sorts of opportunities, really, and
Mm,
get back to some sort of regular rhythm of gigging.
yeah. I mean, I have noticed over the last few years, especially, that there is at least more of a focus on the kind of middle of the road rock bands. Like, I know back in the day when I was gigging, it was very much just you're either indie or you're kind of really heavy metal, and then when you're in the middle, you
Uh,
can't really get many gigs. But with the whole kind of classic rock thing coming back and all of that, it's
yeah.
definitely growing again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the audience for it ever went away. It's just like everything. It comes in waves, doesn't it? Fashions and
Mm,
trends, they come and go. And for whatever reason, guitar bands generally were out of fashion for a while. There seems to be a bit more of a resurgence coming back now, and people are either kind of, I guess, starting to land either in that indie kind of Liam Gallagher kind of scene, or they're
yeah.
opting to go for, like you say, the more classic rock revival, or maybe some of the more heavier stuff as well. So it's definitely the audiences are there. It's just finding the right opportunities and the right channels to reach them for bands like ours, really. And that's the hard work. That's where it gets tough sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. Um, I mean, just for kind of people who don't know who you guys are, aren't familiar with the music, what sort of genre would you describe yourself as, really?
I'd say heavy blues or blues rock. So if you think of bands like the Black Keys or the White Stripes or Wolf Mother, or maybe a bit of Royal Blood, that kind of very riff laden, kind of fuzzed up, beefy guitar sound, high energy, big vocals.
Hmm.
That's generally kind of the sorts of bands that we tend to get referenced when people hear us. They say, "Oh yeah, I can hear a bit of." Rival Sons is another big one that we get spoken
Hmm.
about a lot, and even Led Zeppelin, people tell us that they can pick out a bit of
Oh,
Zeppelin in what we do, in
hmm.
the sense that it's kind of very riffy, big soaring vocals, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
lots of good positive references, and you get those names passed to you, and you think, yeah, that's good. We're obviously doing something right, because they're all great bands. So happy
Yeah,
with that.
definitely. Yeah.
So if anybody is into that sort of stuff, then please check out We Three Kings, because hopefully it'll be up your street.
Yes. Yeah. Um, Sort of outside of them bands, are there any more kind of more obscure ones that you'd say influence you guys, or is it very much the kind of the White Stripes and the Black Keys and that
I
kind of
mean,
area?
there's a couple of bands coming out of the States that we have seen that are not a million miles away from what we do. So there's a duo from Canada, I think, called the Bluestones. Don't know if you're
Okay.
familiar with them. They're quite similar. There's another band called Cleopatrick. I don't know. I think they might again be from Canada, actually.
Yeah, that rings a
A
bell,
bit
actually.
heavier than bit heavier than what we do, but really good. They just brought the first album out, so they're worth checking out. So yeah, there are smaller bands doing a similar sort of thing, which gives us, I guess, some encouragement that like I say, there's the audience for it, and people out there want to hear it. Typically, they tend to be in the States, so I don't know. Maybe in the UK, we're perhaps a little bit behind in terms of catching up to that scene and
Yeah,
that sound, but hopefully, we're heading in the right direction.
yeah, definitely. Let's see, what have we got? So I guess we kind of have to address the pandemic and all that sort of stuff. And how's
Yeah.
it been over the last kind of 18 months being in a band?
It's been tough because obviously live music just ground to a complete halt. So then you don't have those kind of anchor points in the diary that you're working towards, gearing up for a gig or whatever. So all of a sudden you're a bit, I guess, rudderless as a band because you don't have anything that you're working towards. So that's been a bit of a weird thing to get your head around. And then also it's just generally been very stop-start in terms of the restrictions that have been in place in terms of getting
Yeah,
together and rehearsing and stuff like that. So lockdown one, we shut down completely for like 2 or 3 months, like pretty much everybody didn't even rehearse at all. Then we got back into writing and rehearsing through the summer last year. So we got a couple of tracks written during that time, one of which is a song that we've just released called Walk. So
yes.
we did have a period of productivity there, but then once we got into the winter time again, and then lockdown 2 or 3 or whichever lockdown it was came around again, we went back into another shutdown again for another number of months. So it was
Yeah.
only really maybe March, April time this year that we've properly been back at it.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then gradually, obviously, things have started to open up and gigs have started to come back. So feel like we're getting a bit back to some sort of normality now.
Yes.
But yeah, just a really tough up and down 18-month period, really. We did manage to get into the studio in April and do a couple of recordings. So we've just released one of those. We've got another one in the can that we're going to bring out towards the end of this year, most likely.
Oh, nice.
So that feels like we've got something that we're working with now. We've got some new material. We've got some something to aim for. So yeah, we're feeling good. We're feeling good now. But like everybody in the music business, it's been really tough, and particularly felt for the venues, the small independent venues, because they've just been really hit hard by the whole thing. Some of them, I think a few of them we've lost, unfortunately, but a lot of them seem to have managed to scrape through as well. So hopefully, more people will have the appetite for live music, having been
I was going to say, hopefully we start seeing some good turnouts now.
Yeah, you'd hope so. I mean, it's like anything, isn't it? You don't appreciate what you've got till it's gone, do you? Sometimes, and hopefully that's the case for gigs.
Did you kind of find it hard to come up with stuff for social media and trying to keep the ball rolling for again over the last bit?
Yeah, very much so.
I mean,
to be honest with you, that's the biggest drag of being in a band, really, is having to keep the content flowing constantly. Sometimes you do feel like you just scratching around for stuff to talk about, particularly through lockdown thing. Repeating yourself. So we did a couple of little acoustic videos from home where we each recorded our parts remotely and patched them together. So that was a bit of fun. And then just keeping up with like a few photos and a few updates on kind of what was going on. But when you're literally in shutdown, there's only so much you can talk about. So that has been tricky. But back to normal now, and we've got no shortage of stuff to be pestering people about now. So that's good.
So trying to put more of a kind of positive spin on it, what's kind of your favorite part of the music industry, from being in a band?
I think there's two things. I mean, obviously playing live is what every band exists to do, really. So that's your biggest pay, the biggest buzz, the biggest payoff that you get is when you're on a stage, you're playing to a load of people and you're getting a really good reception, really good feedback. That's obviously really a massive part of it. But also just the creative process. So, you start off with nothing, you go through a process and you end up with an original piece of music, a video, everything that surrounds that and supports that. You release that into the world, and you get really good positive reception, and you think, yeah, cool, we're doing something right. And when you're old and grey, you can look back on that and think, yeah, we made that, we created that, and that's just a really cool thing to have in your back pocket. So both of those things really, but the whole thing's good fun. Just getting together with your mates once a week and making noise and getting out to gigs and all the sorts of stuff that you wouldn't do if you weren't in a band. It's the whole package is enjoyable, but it's also hard work a lot of the time as well.
Yeah, a lot of work goes into it to get to the good times sometimes.
Yeah.
If there's one thing you could change about the music industry, is there anything that immediately springs to mind?
I mean, there's loads of things that I'd change. I guess the key one is it can sometimes feel like a very closed shop for smaller bands and bands trying to break through. And no matter how hard you try, there is always this sense of it's not how good you are, it's who you know, or
how much you can pay to get to the end.
How whether you all this pay to play stuff that goes on, or how many mates can you bring to a gig, and your music might be crap, but if you can bring 100 mates, then that's considered successful. So there's all of that disparity in terms of the music not being the key ingredient to get to being successful, which I guess is frustrating for us. There's lots of whether you're considered to be fashionable or your music just happens to land at a time when it's popular, and all of these sorts of things. But I guess I would just like to see the music being the main, the core component of the product, and then everything else being secondary. Sometimes it feels like it's the other way around, I suppose.
Yeah, I can feel that. So in terms of your kind of upcoming stuff, you said you've got a single out, any plans for like a full album at some point, or?
No, we're just going single to single at the moment. I mean, we find that for a band in our kind of position at the moment, that's the best way to keep just regular momentum up with new music coming out regularly. We do have a decent enough back catalogue which you could put together as an album if we wanted to. But for now we're just doing singles. So we try to do maybe 3 single releases a year would be our typical sort of cadence of releases. So we've just put out a new single called Walk 2 weeks ago. That's gone down really, really well. So we're just kind of riding that out at the moment, and doing things like this, talking to guys like you who have been receptive to it. We've got another one in the can that we'll bring out towards the end of the year. Sometime between now and then, we're going to be back in writing and recording. So hopefully by the time we get into 2022, we're back kind of all guns blazing and ready to go again for a full proper year of releases and everything that comes with it. So yeah, there's that. And then, like we were saying before, just getting back to gigging. So hopefully get a few more gigs in the diary. We've got a couple coming up over the next few months. And once that all settles down a bit more and everything's fully back to normal, hopefully we can fill the diary up for next year as well and get some good gigs coming through.
So given the kind of recent trend, especially thanks to streaming services and stuff like that, do you prefer the kind of staggered releases of singles as opposed to just putting out an album every few years or so? Because I know that's what a lot of bands are kind of aiming for these days. Even if they're putting out an album, they're putting out half of it as singles in the year before leading up to it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it helps, or?
It all comes down to resources at the end of the day. Like, how much time and money have you got to put into being in a band, and what do you think is going to get you the best return on that level of investment that you're making? So for us, we find that the single to single approach is the best way to do it right now. I think if we put an album together, whilst it'd be a great thing to have done and to have achieved, I don't think we'd get the sort of return on it in the same way that we do with singles. So, and the time that has to go into it and everything like that. So maybe one day it's something that we'd like to do, but it's probably not quite right for us at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair enough. The one kind of question that we do try and ask everyone we interview, if you could have written one song that's kind of already been written in history, what would it be?
Oh God. I mean, it's not necessarily our sound, but Bohemian Rhapsody is a completely unique one-off track in it, and you know, how somebody even sits down and writes that is just beyond me. I can't even envisage how that happens. So I'd say that if it was something closer to what we do, then you could probably pick one of a dozen Led Zeppelin songs that are just absolutely epic, and you'd say, yeah, you know, that is probably more in our sweet spot and the sort of thing that we would be, I guess, we would be able to relate to in terms of playing. But yeah, you know, bloody hell, there's a lot of good songs out there, aren't there? So
Oh, definitely, yeah.
yeah, I'll say Bohemian Rhapsody if I had to put my name on one.
Good call. So well, I mean, just kind of with your new single Walk, is there anything else you kind of want to say about it? Is it different to your previous work in any sort of way? Have you gone in a different direction with it, or?
Well, we've done with this release. We've worked with a new producer, a chap called Joe Sage, who's got a production company called Nevis Audio. So it's the first time we've worked with him. So if you were to compare it with some of our previous recordings, there is a little bit of a difference in sort of production style, which we like. We're really pleased with. So that's different. We've also just, I think, gone all guns blazing with this particular track, having not had a release out for so long because of COVID. We wanted something that was going to hit you square between the eyes and just be like a really upfront, in your face kind of heavy riff song. So that's what we've gone for with this. Our other recording is maybe a little less in your face, but still excited about that as well. So I mean, typically our songs, they fit into quite a clear genre. They are quite similar to each other, tend to be led by a guitar riff, and everything else kind of built out from there, quite melodic choruses and vocal hooks and stuff like that. So it's not a massive departure from anything we've done previously, but you know, you're always, every time you put a new piece of music together, you're always trying to evolve it and make it better than the last one, and we feel like this has done that. So I guess that's as much as you can ask for, really.
No, nice. What's your next gig? Have you got anything else you kind of want to plug, socials wise, or anything like that?
Yeah, well, in terms of socials, you know, we're everywhere. We're across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Our music's on all the streaming services, so Spotify, Apple. We've got videos on YouTube, all of that stuff. Everywhere that bands have to be these days, we're there. So, you know, please, you know, if people are watching or reading this, then please go and look us up and give us a follow and check out what we're doing. In terms of gigs, I think we've not got anything until October now, but we'll be playing a local gig in Manchester on the 22nd of October. But we keep our socials up to date in terms of new dates going in the diary and all that sort of thing. So, you know, if people want to come and check us out, then keep an eye on those. And we always announce everything in plenty of time with all the information that people are going to need to come and see us and everything like that.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I think that's all I've got.
Cool. No, it's great, mate. Thanks for having me, and it was nice meeting you and enjoyed the chat.
Yes, nice to meet you too. And yeah, hopefully you're kind of up around this neck of the woods again soon.